Hello and welcome. I am Snyder from Snyder's Sunshine Art Studio, where creativity shines. With over 20 plus years of public school teaching experience, I bring step by step art instruction and ready to use art lessons to spark creativity in students and offer art teachers a much needed reprieve. So let's create something wonderful together.
If you drew the picture with me from the prior video, please color it with me. Hello, it's A.M. Snyder here with this adorable chick that I drew in a prior video, and I believe I ended that video explaining that I would have a second video possibly on how to color this adorable chick. Now, fascinatingly enough, A.M. Snyder, who likes to shine creativity into your world, decided to come up with some additional drawings of this chick. But before I show you that, I want to explain that I had scanned this image into my computer, and then I manipulated it just a little bit and turned it into a printable coloring book page. So if you're interested in this, you would like to check out my Teachers Pay Teachers website, my store, and you'll be able to find this image as well as all of these other wonderful chick drawings that I did that you could use with your child or your student, or if you are a student, stay tuned because I have some ideas on how you can make these a little more artistic. All right, so I have that one, chick in the basket. This chick is carrying a flower from the flower bed there. And we have this chick who is either waking up or going to sleep with its teddy bear. This chick is having some conversation with the butterfly. And then we have this one ready to dive into the water with the turtles. So if you follow through with the video here, I'll explain what else you can do with these coloring book pages besides coloring them. However, for this video, I am going to film coloring this one. And with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some crayons. Now I have here the Prang color crayons, and I chose them out of all my stash of brands of crayons because I think they aren't as waxy and they go on a little smoother, and I prefer that. The Crayola are more like that too. So let's start with the sky area here where it has some raindrops. I was thinking of using a light blue and maybe using some gray with it. So looking at it, looks like this is my blue. So looks like I used it, it broke. So here we go. Let's use it down here closer to the ground. And when I am coloring, I tend to like to try to go in the same direction. So little coloring tips from A.M. Snyder's own personal experience. I don't know what all the artistic jargon is in regard to coloring. I just know from my own experience that if I color in a particular direction the whole way through the shape, it looks more unified, it looks cleaner. So I'm going to continue to color across or horizontally in my strokes here. Now, some time ago, I used to explain to kids that they should color in a loopy line because I thought that made it look more cohesive. But every time I realized it really doesn't matter as long as you get the effect that you want. So I'm going to continue with the whole coloring in the horizontal direction. Now, this little butt of grass that it's sitting on, it looks like I missed a line here. So I'm going to add that in, and I'll have to make that adjustment as well. So I'll add that right there. So I know the ground and the sky are meeting. And then we will color this in here. Now I was going to blend this in with a darker blue and then go to gray, I think. So I'm going to continue in my little spaces here. And when I color, I like the idea of the crayons because you can get different values based off of how you press with the crayons. excuse me. Now, I know I've said this in other videos, but I just repeat in case there's anybody new here. A.M. Snyder is not the clearest in her pronunciation of words, and the word crayon is a word that I have worked hard on saying correctly, especially when a few years ago a 4th or 5th grade student, I don't remember what grade he was in anymore, pointed out that apparently I was saying the word wrong. And, well, I was teaching for a length of time saying it wrong. So now I just feel as though I need to justify my abilities here by trying to say it correctly and emphasizing that word, the word crayon. Hopefully I'm saying it right. You can always leave me a comment and let me know. But I guess I'm a little self-conscious. There's a word, self-conscious. I'm probably saying that wrong. Anyway, let's move along here. Alright, so I have my light blue, and now I'm going to find a darker blue. This is dark blue. It says dark blue. I'm afraid it's too dark. Let's just find blue. Yep, there it is. And I'm just going to color over top. And that's going to darken the area. You can use whatever crayons you have, by the way. Just try to color lightly with your blue and then press harder with your blue if you don't have two different blues. And that will give you the range of light to dark. Again, I'm trying to keep my motion of my coloring in that horizontal direction to keep it cohesive, the same, unified. And if for some reason my hand or my body feels like the direction is not lining up with the motion, guess what? The paper turns. You can turn the paper as needed. So if it makes sense to go vertically, you just turn the paper so you can go vertically. Right now I believe I'm going diagonally. Now, I have recently came to the conclusion that when I ask students the names of lines, that depending on who they were taught by in the past, they will say horizontal, diagonal, or vertical as a name of a line. And I just can't help myself but to say that is not the name of line. That is the name of a direction that the line can go in. So I don't know any art teachers out there, if you're like, don't you do that, it's wrong. Well, I'm sorry. So right now I am coloring in a diagonal direction, and that is why that thought process came up. Because any of the lines can go diagonal, vertical, or horizontal for that matter. Oh, I missed this entire spot here, didn't I? Alright. So I have a gray, and I would like to use that. Now I know in class, public schools, I don't usually have a gray crayon for students, and they want to use gray. So I say, hey, you have a pencil? The pencil is gray. Color with your gray pencil. And you know, sometimes they end up coloring with their gray pencils when I don't want them to color with their gray pencils. It's like we are drawing a picture right now. I didn't tell you to color anything in. Any art teachers out there who know what I'm talking about, well, suddenly they jump ahead, or they think they know what they're doing, and they start to add things they're not supposed to add, and you had this idea in your head, and now you have to problem solve it with them because they did this, and yeah. So you students out there, if your art teacher's talking to you about doing something, you should wait and make sure that you actually understand what to do so that it limits the stress of the art teacher and it allows you to be successful too. So that gray didn't really show up too much, but it's there. Alright, we have this beautiful blue going on now. It's so lovely. I like it a lot. Now, I keep thinking of this flower as pink, as much as I'm not a pink fan. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to color it pink. Now, I mentioned about loopy line earlier. Let's just see if this shows up well. It really doesn't, but the motion of coloring and that loopy line that overlaps on itself, the motion of that is fun to my hand after I was just coloring a particular direction. So now it's like I get to go around and around, and drawing circles are very fun, especially if you do it a lot. So this loopy line effect, my hands are happy because they're used to doing it. Happy hands. Happy fingers, happy hands, coloring and drawing. Alright, so I started with my light pink here, and I'm going to blend in another color with this. Now, I don't know about art teachers out there, but when I talk about warm and cool colors, the kids, they're like, is pink a warm color? Is brown a warm color? And this is how I handle it. I say pink is light red, so therefore yes. And you know, you have brown usually coming in your color sets, so we have black also. So A.M. Snyder is going to say, put the brown with the warm colors and put the black with the cool colors. And I know some of you out there are like, don't do that, that's not right either. Oh well. Oh well. I think that they get the gist that there are 3 warm colors, there are 3 cool colors. Throwing in those additional ones really isn't going to hurt, especially at the elementary level, I believe. Alright, now I want to get a red violet. Is this red violet? This is magenta, because this is prang. The labels on the crayons are different than what I'm used to seeing on Crayola or the basic Rose Art. I have pen and gear crayons, crazy art crayons. Many of them, especially that pen and gear, which I believe might be a Walmart thing, they are terrible crayons. They do not color well whatsoever. So keep that in mind. I think I'm just going to go with red because I don't have, I have magenta, and I don't know, we could try magenta. Which is probably a red violet. Alright, red violet. So let's put that in there. Oh yeah, it's working. But I'll use the red also just so we can see. And I'm using it where things overlap. This, the stem leafy part, overlaps the petals. I'm doing that there so that it has a shadowing effect. It makes it a darker value. Right, now I'm going to get this red. And I am going to add it to the back end just to make it a little deeper back here. Hopefully you can see that. Oh, it looks beautiful up there on the camera as I look up. Yes. I'm a huge color fan. Okay, I'm going to turn it this way for a moment. Okay, so over here, instead of using the magenta, I'll just use the red straight out. This doesn't look like it's colored in there. There we go. So I have my brush here that I'm going to sweep away all that crayon dust or shavings because they get piled up and then they smear where you don't want them. Let's get some green here. What's this? Yellow green? Yes, yellow green is great. And I'm telling you, these praying crayons, they sound great against the paper too. Of course, you could always color these with colored pencils. I couldn't think of colored pencils for a moment. That was funny. Watercolor came to mind, and then markers, and I'm like, no, that's not what I want to say. However, you could use markers, but I have this on printer paper, so it's gonna suck up the markers, and watercolor, most likely it's gonna ripple and you're gonna get holes in it. So just throw that out there. Color pencils, because I had taken the original drawing and blew it up a little bit, would take a lot longer to fill in. Okay, so I'm going to take this darker green and we're going to add a little shadowing effect on one side. Okay. Alright, so let's get into our little chick here. I want its beak to be orange. I'm just going to color it orange, and that's going to be it. And I'll add just a little bit of yellow to the top. My poor crayon just broke. My broke crayon. Alright, now I'm going to color its tongue pink. I'm going to color its, whoops, I almost lost that. Color its feet here, its legs orange. Alright, so now that I colored these feet in, I kind of want them to be brighter. So I'm going to take, this is dark yellow it says. Yellow would be fine. Just to smooth them out, give them a little extra to them. Okay. Now, I believe that many of us would color the chick yellow. And you know what? I'm going to do that. But I'm also going to add some browns and maybe some oranges to it as well. So here we go. Okay, now as you notice with the stem, the feet, I wasn't coloring a particular direction because those are smaller areas. So now that I'm in here, I'm thinking, oh, let's discuss that. Yeah, I'm coloring a loopy line, or a back and forth motion to fill that in. See, this is a back and forth motion, and then a loopy line. It's just interesting train of thought about the direction that the crayon is going in my hand in order to fill that in. The other thing is somewhat frustrating is that when you color over these lines, they tend to disappear. So we want to be careful with that, or trace back over them as well when we are finished. I got some blue in there and try to blend that out. And now I'm going in a zigzag motion, back and forth and across. Back and forth and across. And if you hear any kind of odd sounds, it is my cat. Miss Ruthie decides that when I start to film, she wants out because she thinks she's getting locked in the room, even though I'm in here with her. And then when she's out, she wants in. And when I let her in, she's going to want out. So she's whining. Alright, so we have our yellow down, and I'm going to get the orange again. Alright, so I'm going to add some orange. Let's do some here. And blend it around. Look how bright it looks. Happy and bright. I was just having my younger grades color in a lion head they drew with lots of lines. And I was explaining to them how to use the warm colors for its face and to color around in patches just like this. So it's just fascinating how I made the connection to keep doing that with this one. And I was teaching that idea last week and this week. I'll have to make up a lesson plan on that lion project I'm doing. They are so adorable with the particular first grade class. Their faces for their lions are adorable. And using just a review of all the names of the lines for the lions. It was quite funny because I was reviewing with them and I said, name a line, L-I-N-E, and I started to hear them name characters in movies and books and stories of lion characters and their names, and I was a little confused because I'm not all up on that entertainment world and well, even children's books of the last few years, since my children have kind of outgrown the children's books. I like children's books, and I have a desire to illustrate and write some at one point in my life, but I have lots of ideas, so limits time. Time limits the ability to take all those ideas and do them, because there's the dailiness of life. Adults out there, you know what I'm talking about. Kids, you will eventually know. And students, you probably have heard your own parents comment about such things. Alright, now let's sweep away all the crayon dust and color its eye. Let's color its eye. I'm going to make its eye green, blue, blue. And make it this color. This is blue-green. I'm going to double check the rating. Yep. Blue-green. There we go. And the flowers down here are going to be yellow. And we're going to add, I think we're going to add some red. Kind of reminds me of marigolds. They can come in colors that are very warm, the petals. And we'll do the centers. And color the grass. I'm just going to color the grass regular green. I'm not pressing really hard. I'm just coloring it in lightly with the intent of changing it up later. Okay, and I'm going to get the blue. It's just the dark blue. It is. And I'm just going to use some curvy lines over top of the grass to make it look like wild field grass. And it helps to break up all the green that these pictures usually have. A variety of green. Take regular green here and color across again. I am not using a lot of pressure on the crayon, so I'm getting a lighter value. And now I can press a little harder and make a slight difference and blend it out. Value is the darkness and lightness. It's a range, dark, light, medium, medium, dark. So here it is, all colored in, super adorable, yes, very adorable. And as mentioned at the beginning, I have the other images here. I'm going to briefly explain what I did with them. Okay, so with this particular image, here's the original. Okay, I didn't do anything different with this yet. But my thought was if I left it empty, then students, okay, if you're watching, you could do this, or teachers, you could offer this as an activity where they add in the texture lines. So this chick could look fluffy or full of feathers, depending on the line that's used, as well as making the bark look rough, making the grass look more jagged, filling it in with lines to make it have that texture. Now, I did do that with a different one here. Let's see if I can find it here. I did it with that one. So I took the empty page and I filled it with some lines to make it look like it has some visual texture. So if I pull this over on top of the crayons, you can see here what I did. So that's a possibility, okay? So I have that image. Let me move those out of the way. I have this one diving into the water, but I was thinking of the visual textures. But you could also do some additional things here. I have this image where I took it and then I had used a marker and I decided to write to fill in most of the drawing. So it says yellow happy chick, happy small yellow chick, written with that marker. Brown basket, rough brown basket. Now the fascinating thing is when I did this, I was thinking about what older kids could hide in there. So you want to be aware of that. And if you're a student and you want to be silly and you want to hide a message in there, I'm sure you can get away with it. Now I have to give you a backstory on this. When I was student teaching so many years ago now, I told the college not to put me into the middle school where I grew up. I did not attend that middle school. There was only 2 middle schools in the city that I grew up in. And I went to, I believe, the better one because I knew this one was the inner city and I knew it was there. And I was like, don't put me there. I was there for 1 week and they pulled me out because I'm young and there's no way these kids were going to listen to me. But the art teacher there had a system that helped her get through each day. And one of her activities was to take a coloring book page, they had to redraw it, and then they had to put in words like this to describe the image or the thing. So you can tie in vocabulary and grammar here. You can have a noun, an adjective, and have it repeated or something along those lines. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of it because of that experience, but I have used this concept when I first started teaching because, hey, it was available to me. All right, now, then when I started teaching a little longer, before Zentangles were known, by the way, I had discovered them on the internet. So I took this image. Now I would say this is definitely an older older class to do. It's a little more challenging, but you take the image and you can give students some examples of Zentangles or patterns, and in my resource I will have some that you can print off and give to students, and then they have to add those to their drawing. As you can see, my chick is now somewhat camouflaged until I actually color it in. But there are different options for your students instead of just coloring. However, if you're going to buy the resource, then it makes sense for the younger ones to color. Then you have the ones that are a little older do the writing part. Then you can have the older ones put in the visual textures or even the Zentangles. So lots of possibilities, and there's the original one, right? The original one. That ended up giving me the ideas for all of these. Even these open backgrounds, you can have kids write in there a message or add to the picture. That would be another idea. Like, what can you add to the sky? What's hiding in the bush? What's crawling on the bush? What is on the chick? Is there another turtle somewhere hiding in the image? So there's other ways you can use, in essence, coloring book pages other than just coloring. All right, well, A.M. Snyder here, always very thankful for those who join me on my adventure here on how to draw and make art for students to be successful and to give art teachers a much needed reprieve. Until next time, bye-bye.